Hi everyone, this is Tam Paints. Today I just want to start a new video series, a new type of content where I just discuss what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling about my art, what I'm doing going forward, and to give you a better idea of the mind space I'm in when I'm creating some of the stuff I've been working on lately. Today I want to touch on mostly how I'm moving to improve my art and the steps I'm taking and the areas I think that I need to work on and how I'm going to go about that. That way you guys can understand what I'm thinking, the direction I'm going, and maybe it can even help you if you're encountering similar issues with your art and help you improve in similar ways. I will say I do apologize. I did get a surgery on my neck not too long ago, and because of that I am struggling to speak a little bit. I do struggle to enunciate sometimes, so I am working through that, and that's also one of the reasons of doing this, is to really practice speaking with kind of how my face works now. So with that said, I'm just going to play some sketches I've been working on in the background so that you have something to look at while I'm talking about things. And so the first thing I want to talk about is just kind of like the current goal with my art and where I want to go, so that we at least have a direction to travel in terms of figuring out what we're trying to do here. And my goal really is to get good enough at art that I can create the scenes I want to show, just to kind of create some emotion and make people feel something. And so really where this lies is this is kind of in between concept art and fine art, where fine art tends to be more focused on either the technical skill or the raw emotion of the communication they're trying to do, because all art is pretty much communication, where concept art tries to convey a single concept or maybe multiple concepts, but it's focused primarily on the concept, not so much the emotion. They're trying to show something that exists or that they want to make you think exists in real life. And that's where like the sci-fi fantasy kind of stuff, it doesn't really exist, but they want to make it such an accurate depiction that you can say like, oh, that makes sense in my brain. And I kind of want to do something in between. I guess you would say that's more illustration in a way. I'm not really trying to illustrate per se. I think it's a little bit more off the cuff than that, but that's the direction I'm trying to go with my art and where I have personally found a lot of value in it. Because I'm doing this, I have a full-time job, I'm a web developer and web designer, so I'm really trying to find another area of my life that I'm enjoying, and I think that art is definitely a great way to go about that. Now, in terms of improving my artwork, what I really am trying to do is to get better at creating my own kind of objects in 3D space. I found that I am pretty good at taking a photo or real life reference if I'm doing like a plein air kind of style thing, or if I'm sketching from life, or if I'm using any kind of other reference, that I find that one-to-one I can do a pretty good job of understanding the form and capturing it accurately, and also kind of putting a little bit of an artistic touch on it, a bit of a impressionistic touch on it. And I found that when I went to do, say if I said, okay, I have the scene, I have some reference for the scene, I want to add a tree right in the middle of that field. And if I tried to do that right now, I would actually have quite a bit of issue doing that. And the problem is that I can understand things if I'm trying to capture them onto a 2D canvas, basically looking at the shapes and not so much understanding the form as well. I do have a decent understanding of form, but not the best. But then when I have to really understand the form and really get it onto the canvas and know how that sits in 3D space, I'm finding I'm having an issue in my art. The difference between my art from those two things, where I'm basically recording something in my own style as opposed to creating something onto the canvas, there's a huge gap in the quality between those two. And I was listening to someone else talk about this, and really the thing that if you have that same issue, if you can say, hey, I can copy this down, or hey, I could do this if I have the direct photo reference, I'm doing like a portrait, directly from a photo, or I'm doing a figure drawing of someone standing in front of me, right? But when I then go and say, oh, well, I want to, draw this character doing this pose, and all of a sudden I'm having so much trouble with it, that is one of the issues, is where you understand things 2D in terms of shape and proportion, things like that, but when you try to create your own 2D object in 3D, or 3D object in 2D space, which is what drawing is essentially doing when you're doing it from your own concepts, so this is the idea of concept art, they focus on this part a lot, is when you're trying to create that 3D object in 2D space, you really need to know the form behind that space and that object and how that object fits into that space. That part is difficult, and that part is what I'm going to try to focus on more. And I listened to that guy first. I got the message he was saying. I was vibing with it. I said, okay, this definitely sounds like the issue I'm having. It sounds like, this guy has talked about this with people before, and I'm confident I can figure out how to transition my skills a little bit to get to where I want to be, more to where I want to be. To do that, I did more research, and I went back to some of the old art guys I used to watch back in the day when I was in art school. And one was Fang Zoo, FCD. He's on YouTube, and he gives excellent information. But what he says is really, because he teaches concept artists to get into the concept art profession, and that's what his school is about. It's about it really getting you into that. And his whole thing is, you need to be sketching a lot, you need to fail a lot, but you need to also keep it easy enough so that when you fail, you're not discouraged so bad. So the idea is that you need to do a lot of volume, and you need to do a lot of studies. And so what you're seeing, in the background is me working on some of these sketches, some of these studies, and they don't take terribly long. They definitely take me longer than what I would assume would take for these things. That's because I'm new to it, and I'm really kind of trying to relearn how to do line work, especially because I'm doing it digitally. I'm used to doing, pen on paper, not so much Apple Pen on iPad. It's a little bit, it doesn't quite translate perfectly, but I'm sure once I get it more under my hand, it'll be fine. And honestly, probably even more powerful because I have things like layers, and I don't have to worry about my ink bleeding when I put marker down. But the idea is basically emulating an old school pen and marker sketch, which really focuses on the form. Not so much the lighting. I do have a little bit of lighting going into these. I am thinking about where the light's coming from to display the form, because that's important. But what I'm really trying to do is understand the form. And so that's why there's what he says to do is really start with the line, right, of the form, and then kind of hit the contour of the form. Not so much the texture, but really trying to get the contour of the form itself. You're not worrying about the texture or the lighting at this part at all. You're just worried about the form. The form, the form, the form. The idea is to really focus on the form, because that's the part that most people are lacking when they're trying to create a 3D object in 2D space. You really have to know what the form of that object is. Once you know that, and you know what the form of the space is, you can fit them together and make it really believable and look nice, which is what I'm trying to do. That being said, I'm going to work a lot more at these sketches, especially in between paintings, so I probably won't have as many paintings coming out, but I'll have more content coming out, and I'm hoping to make more of these talks over top of some of these sketches, because they are, pretty repetitive, and they can be pretty monotonous sometimes for people watching, I think. So I think I'm just going to speed through a couple of them and just talk over them so that you can understand what I'm thinking, why I'm doing things, and hopefully it can even help you. I would definitely recommend checking out, all the resources I spoke about while after you watch this video, and see for yourself what they say, because they have excellent information. But that is the main thing I'm going to try to do going forward, is to really start sketching, do form sketches, do a good number of them. I can't quite do the volume per week that he suggests you do, because I'm really not trying to get into concept art as a profession. This is really more of a hobby for me. So I don't mind doing less volume and taking longer, and I probably won't live up to my full potential in it, but that's okay, because it's not really what I'm looking for. I'm really just trying to get better at my art and try to make art that I can share with other people and feel good about it. And at the end of the day, that's really what I'm trying to do. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you have any kind of, responses to this, feel free to comment or leave any kind of reply that you would like. And I'll probably see you guys next time with a whole new batch of sketches, hopefully. And you could see, I'm hoping you could see some of my improvement already, because I feel like I've started to get much better at just getting the pen to the paper and figuring out the forms and all that stuff. So thank you very much. Bye.